Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Return ALOLAN MAROWAK in the Great League. With the Alola to Alola event, Shadow ALOLAN MAROWAK is possible for the first time ever, meaning that it is also now possible to purify an ALOLAN MAROWAK and run Return. We already know that Shadow ALOLAN MAROWAK is a fantastic addition to the Great League meta, but the question that I'm aiming to answer today is Purified ALOLAN MAROWAK worth the investment? So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Purified ALOLAN MAROWAK in the Great League. Tough lead in the first match, Wall Rain into Defense Deoxys. I save switch into Hex ALOLAN MAROWAK, and Deoxys is going to stay in and fire off a Psycho Boost. I do tank this pretty well, so I'm not going to commit a shield, and then they bring in Scrafty. Scrafty, not a great spot to be in, but we do have access to Return. Return able to connect and does a nice amount of damage. My opponent throws on alignment as well, and I'm able to get through an extra Hex. Now that I've landed the Return, I'm thinking I can probably make a play for switch advantage. So I'm going to overfarm by quite a bit and start going for the Shadow Bones. Shadow Bone does get the shield. Overfarming again quite a bit, and Scrafty's gonna fire off another move. I'm really hoping I don't get baited, and it is a foul play that is massive. I'm now very close to the back-to-back Shadow Bones. If I can get to Shadow Bone number 3, I can flip switch. MAROWAK is able to get there, and just like that, we are going to be able to take back switch from the Scrafty. And this is absolutely massive because that means we can now align their Deoxys against our Sableye in the endgame. In comes Galarian Stunfisk, able to land a Shadow Bone and get the defense drop. They're forced to throw a Rock Slide, and at this point, this game should basically be over. I'm just going to bring in the Wall Rain, absorb any damage they throw, and watch for a potential catch onto Deoxys. Rock Slide does connect, farming up, they go for the catch, in comes Sableye into Deoxys, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, leading Wall Rain into Shadow Venusaur. Not a bad lead by any means, Wall Rain is able to outpace Shadow Venusaur, so we get to force them to make the first shielding decision. Going straight for the Icicle Spear, we do get the shield, and then unfortunately the game freezes for a little bit. Thankfully it appears it was mutual, as both them and I took about the same amount of damage. They go for the Frenzy Plant, I shield it up, and I'm gonna fire back with another Icicle Spear. If they double shield, honestly, I'm perfectly fine with letting my Wall Rain go down and saving shields for my backline. They do decide to double shield and throw on very low HP. I'm just gonna let this go. It is the Frenzy Plant, bring in ALOLAN MAROWAK, and they bring in Skarmory. And here is where I miss having Fire Blast, because I would be able to Fire Blast and one-shot them here, whereas now, since I have Return, I am forced to go for the Shadow Bone. This could be enough for a Brave Bird, so I am going to respect it, but they only end up going for a Sky Attack. I am going to overfarm, and I'm hoping that this Shadow Bone will be enough to KO. It's going to be exceedingly close. Shadow Bone, just not enough to KO, and they're able to reach one final Sky Attack. Thankfully, ALOLAN MAROWAK does tank that no problem, and I'm able to farm down and leave with a move. So we know they have the very low HP Venusaur. What else do they have in the back? And it's a Shadow Swampert. They try and go for a catch, we're able to farm down, and now we get to return the Shadow Swampert. Shadow Swampert taking big damage from the return. We bring in Sableye. Sableye is going to be able to tank this no problem and farm down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Wall Rain into Araquanid, the absolute nightmare lead. I'm going to immediately save switch into Sableye, but Sableye still doesn't have a fabulous matchup here. I'm going to go straight for the foul play. I want to get some damage off before they debuff me. Able to connect with the foul play. They have farmed up a ton. This could be a Bug Buzz. I call the bait, but it's the Bug Buzz, and it does massive damage. Unfortunately, I fall just short of being able to hit the return, and Foul Play is not going to be able to KO here. Foul Play does grab the shield. They're able to farm down, but unfortunately, that Araquanid is still very much alive. I'm going to bring in the ALOLAN MAROWAK, and they have a Bubble Beam ready for me. Thankfully, Bubble Beam doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it will of course lower my attack, which is definitely not what I'm hoping for in this matchup. I'm going to try and overload on energy if at all possible here. They go for another Bubble Beam, I bank a bunch of energy, bring in Wall Rain, but there's a second Wall Rain counter in the back in Medicham, so things are not looking good for me whatsoever. And it's a Power Up Punch Medicham at that. That is really unfortunate. I'm only going to be able to get to 2 moves here, so I am going to spam out the Icicle Spears, but double Icicle Spear is just not enough, and I end up over-tapping and missing the Icicle Spear altogether. Thankfully, I do have a Shadow Bone loaded that takes down the Medicham, and we'll have to see what the final Pokemon is. They don't bring it in, they bring in Araquanid, so they could be weak in the back. I'm going to commit the shield and try and go for the farm down. They go for the Bubble Beam, and it's Cofagrigus in the back. So maybe there is a chance. I need to get to 3 Shadow Bones. First one, able to connect, farming up a bunch, and I'm very low health. This is going to be extremely close. Can we reach the 3rd Shadow Bone? Marowak cannot, and we die with the move. Hopping into the next match, leading Walrein into Shadow Drapion. This is a pretty nice lead for us. Opponent will immediately save switch into Shadow Beedrill. Honestly, I don't have a great response to a Beedrill, so I'm just going to stay in here with Walrein. Going for the Icicle Spear, it does big damage, and now I can very safely bring in Sableye. Sableye is going to be able to tank whatever they throw. They go for the X-Scissor, we tank that, and they're able to reach X-Scissor number 2. But again, Sableye doesn't have to shield this. We're going to be able to farm down, and even though my Sableye is very low, we do leave with a move loaded. Opponent is waiting out the switch clock, and then back in comes Drapion. Drapion not able to farm down before we reach the return. Return would do massive damage, so Drapion is forced to commit the shield. Back in comes Walrein, and unfortunately, they have a Crunch loaded. I should survive this, it will do quite a lot of damage. They bring in the final Pokemon, and it's Toxicroak. Thankfully, Alolan Marowak has a pretty decent matchup here, but Mud Bomb is going to hit for super effective. I'm going to let the first one through. Mud Bomb, while it is super effective, doesn't do a ton of damage, so that's the move I'm willing to no-shield. Shadow Bone does get the shield, and at this point, I'm definitely seeing a win con for this match. Their counters are double resisted, so they're in no danger of farming me down, so I just need to over farm a ton. I'm going to farm up quite a bit and go for the Shadow Bone. This will be taking out the Toxicroak, and then I need to get to a return versus the Drapion. Drapion is going to be coming back in here. It finally does. Marowak able to get to the return, and this will do big damage. Return, almost one-shotting the Shadow Drapion, and that is a good game. Terrible lead in the next match, Walrein into Medicham. I'm going to immediately save switch into Alolan Marowak, and my opponent responds with Galarian Stunfisk. This is not a great spot for me to be in, because both Rock Slide and Earthquake hit for massive super effective damage. Shadow Bone does get the shield from the Stunfisk, and at this point, I have to try and make a call. I call the Rock Slide, and it is the Rock Slide. That is absolutely massive. I'm hoping that by successfully calling the Rock Slide, maybe this will allow me to flip switch. I do have a lot of energy on the Marowak, so I am going to be going for another Shadow Bone. Shadow Bone does get the shield. Unfortunately, still no defense drop, and I'm continuing to farm up. I am going to have to shield here if I want to try and get switch. I just have to be able to reach 2 Shadow Bones. Shadow Bone number 1 is going to be doing a nice amount of damage onto the Stunfisk. We are able to get to Shadow Bone number 2. Is this enough to KO the Stunfisk? It is, and Alolan Marowak is able to take back switch. I'm going to bring in Sableye. They have Alolan Sandslash. I bring in Walrein, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Walrein into Nidoqueen. This is a great lead, and honestly, the entire team has nice play against Nidoqueen as well. Opponent is going to save switch into Umbreon, and I need to stay in here. My backline does not like to see Umbreon whatsoever, so I'm just going to stay in and play this out with Walrein. Thankfully, Walrein does have a pretty nice matchup against Umbreon, just because Walrein is exceedingly spammy, going for Icicle Spear after Icicle Spear. Umbreon farms up a ton of energy and is finally going to start throwing. They go for the Foul Play, we tank that no problem, and they're going to fire off Foul Play number 2. From this range, they can tank an Icicle Spear, but I'm going to go for the Earthquake. I'm hoping they decide to call it, and then we can get rid of this Umbreon. Earthquake goes unshielded, and down goes Umbreon. They bring in Nidoqueen, and I'm going to pivot into Sableye. I didn't want to give them a bunch of farm, so I'm just going to bring in the Sableye. They go for the Poison Fang, and then they bring in the final Pokemon, which is Walrein. This is a bit tough because I am debuffed. This Icicle Spear is going to do a lot of damage, gets me very low, but I am going to be able to fire back with the Return. Return does get the shield. I was hoping that it was going to be able to land, and now it's all up to Alolan Marowak. Unfortunately, this Walrein is at enough for an Earthquake, so I am going to respect it, and I get baited. I full scented once, it didn't go well, but I'm going to full send it again. Alolan Marowak going for the return. Big damage on the wall rain. I switch in my own wall rain and I catch. I'm hoping that this is the earthquake. It is. And we're able to take them out. And in the back, it is, of course, going to be that Nidoqueen that we saw on the lead. We are not out of the woods yet because this Earth Power could do massive damage if it connects. So I'm in a bit of a tough spot here. Do I call the bait? I shield, and it's the Earth Power. We correctly shield the nuke move. We're going to be able to safely reach the return. Alolan Marowak able to absolutely banish the Nidoqueen. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a Nightmare lead, Wall Rain into Araquanid, the worst case scenario. I immediately save switch into Sableye, and Sableye is going to be met with Registeel. This is not a great spot to be in as a Sableye. 2 foul plays are not enough to KO, whereas 2 charge moves from Registeel definitely will be. Registeel is going to fire off the Zap Cannon. I'm unwilling to shield as it gets me low, but not enough to take me out. At this point, my only hope for flipping switch is hoping that my opponent tries to commit to the farm down. Foul play gets them low. They try and farm down, but I'm able to reach another foul play. And now they have to give up a shield or switch advantage, and they give me switch advantage. They bring in Trevenant to farm down, and now I may have a chance here. Walrein has absolutely no play against Araquanid, but it actually has some play going up against Trevenant. Trevenant goes for the Seed Bomb, and I'm going to fire back with the Icicle Spear. I'm expecting this is going to be grabbing a shield, as the opponent is going to want to protect their Trevenant. This is a tough call to make. I could shield here, but I decide to put my faith in Alolan Marowak. Back in comes the Araquanid, and now I'm going to need Alolan Marowak to hard carry for me in the end game. Going for the Shadow Bone. Shadow Bone connects, and we get a defense drop. That is quite nice, because they're going to be spamming out Bubble Beams, which are going to be lowering my damage, so being able to lower their defense as well is pretty nice. They're able to reach another Bubble Beam. Honestly, I don't want to shield it just yet. I'm going to save my shields, and then I'm going to have to start shielding from here on out. And you know what? I am full sending the return. This should do big damage if it lands, which it does. Can we hex down? We cannot. And they reach a last second move. I am going to commit the final shield. I just need to get to 2 Shadow Bones versus the Trevenant. This is going to be very close. Alolan Marowak going for Shadow Bone number 1. Can we get to a second? We cannot. And that is a good game. Hopping to the final match, leading Walrein into another Nidoqueen lead, but this time it is a Shadow. Opponent, like the last Nidoqueen lead, ends up save switching into Umbreon, so I need to stay in here. Thankfully, Walrein does have a pretty decent matchup. As we've seen, I can very comfortably tank 2 foul plays, and if I'm able to land 2 Icicle Spears and an Earthquake, I will be able to win switch. So I'm just farming up a bunch. Opponent throws on alignment, and I'm able to get through an extra Powder Snow. That is fantastic. I'm going to farm up and then go for another Icicle Spear. They know they don't have to shield this. EQ wouldn't KO from this range, but now I'm hoping they decide to call it again. Going for the Earthquake. Can we get the 2 for 2 on Earthquake's landing? We cannot, as the opponent respects it. And here, honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have shielded. I have 2 Ghost types in the back, but for some reason I went, oh, I can just save shields for my backline. Not my greatest idea ever, but here we are. 2 Ghost types versus an Umbreon. Let's do this. All right. I was a little scared foul play wouldn't KO, so I decided to full send the return there, and return is going to be able to take them out. I do have a shield advantage, but my Sableye's about at half health. They're going to bring back in the Shadow Nidoqueen. I'm just farming up. They try and catch, and they bring in Scrafty. The fact that they tried to catch may give me an advantage. I'm able to get a shield with the return, and now I can bring in Alolan Marowak. They have no shields left, so this is return season. They have no way to stop it. They go for the foul play. I commit the shield, and I'm going for the return. Return is going to be doing big damage onto the Scrafty, getting it very low. Hexing it down might be a little tough. As well, I do have to be mindful of the fact that if they reach a 3rd foul play, that's going to do quite a lot of damage. I go for the farm down, and they reach it. The question is, can Alolan Marowak tank here? Foul play, not enough to KO. They bring in Nidoqueen, and I am going to full send another return. Return, big damage, taking out the Nidoqueen, and that is a good game. And now, final thoughts on Return Alolan Marowak. First off, the main thing that I'm comparing it to is going to be Fire Blast Alolan Marowak. Return is 1 hex cheaper to get to, so it does give you a slightly cheaper coverage move, but that does come at the expense of less damage. Return is 10 fewer base power, and also, it's not going to get same type attack bonus, so it doesn't quite have the one-shot potential, but it does allow you to get to more of them. So overall, I would say it ends up being more of a side grade compared to Fire Blast. I feel like both have some decent play, but overall, the main one you're going to want is, of course, going to be the Shadow. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.